Hi, it's Global Politics with Jim Martin. An important update from Ukraine. Since the spring, Ukraine has engaged in a new strategy, hitting the Russian Federation where it hurts. Ukraine has been using drones, domestically produced, and domestically produced cruise missiles like the Flamingo to hit Russian oil refineries and storage facilities across Russia. They've been unable to use U.S. missiles like ATACMS or British Storm Shadow missiles due to the Trump administration's prohibition on using such weapons on Russian territory. The European desire to follow suit with the Americans to this point has also prohibited them from using those weapons. As such, the size and small payloads of the domestically produced drones and the limited numbers of missiles that the Ukrainians can build mean that these attacks each have had a marginal effect, but the Ukrainians have been keeping at it. This has begun to pay off in a big way. A quick primer on how oil refineries work. Oil straight out of the ground is piped or shipped on trucks or by rail to oil refineries across the Russian Federation. There are a lot of them, 35 or more. Once crude oil arrives on site, it's stored and then, according to market conditions, is sent to distillation towers. These towers heat the crude oil, separating it into the components of petroleum that we use on a day-to-day basis. Fuel oil for boilers and ships, diesel for heavy machinery, kerosene and naphtha for various purposes, and finally, gasoline for cars and natural gas. Furthermore, byproducts are used to make various plastics as well. Once the components are separated, they're funneled out and stored on site, then sent by rail, truck, or pipeline to meet domestic needs or sold on the international market. Distillation towers are large, complex, and prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, were built and maintained by usually Western, American, and European oil companies. Russian oil conglomerates no longer enjoy this technical assistance, and they don't have anybody that knows how to do any of that stuff. So while they can maintain them to a degree, they face severe challenges when one of them breaks, which happens just naturally, or are destroyed, as has been happening more lately. And they certainly can't build one from scratch. Their Chinese allies can't help them with that either because they have really no domestic oil reserves to speak of. And the Iranians can't because they've been basically holding together their oil refineries with paper clips and duct tape since the 80s. The Ukrainians have been hitting the storage tanks and with increasing frequency the distillation towers of these Russian refineries, which are spread across a wide swath of territory. Many of the attacks aren't even contested by anti-aircraft. Russia has a ton of anti-aircraft systems, missiles, anti-drone weapons, electronic warfare stuff against drones, but Russia is a vast country. They simply can't protect everything. And the Ukrainians have been very adept at evading these sorts of systems too. The Russians have chosen wisely to funnel those sorts of resources towards protecting command and control targets. Generals, high-ranking politicians, and military nodes of communication and logistics get protected first. Ukrainian campaign has begun to have real effects in recent weeks. The largest 5 oil refineries, representing about 30% of Russian capacity, have all been hit at least once, and some of them many times. Many smaller oil refineries have been hit too multiple times, and at least 2 of those were hit in such a way that they are offline for an indeterminate amount of time. Since the campaign began, this has caused a 3 to 5% reduction in production, and a corresponding loss in the hard cash the Russian government from its international sales of oil to China and India, and natural gas sales to the limited number of European countries that still buy it. Hungary, Slovakia, not exactly big markets. This has also caused shortages of gasoline across Russia. I'm talking about gasoline stations being closed for indeterminate amounts of time because they just don't have any gas, and has caused tremendous price increases for Russian consumers who are buying gas as well. Furthermore, when you think about some of those other products like fuel oil, a lot of Russian homes and towns run on boilers. Thus, if you run out of that, it's not going to be pretty. Russian winters get cold. There's more bad news for Russia. New EU sanctions and direct pressure on the Russian shadow fleet. They've been using unlicensed, unregulated tankers to ship oil to India and China, have reduced the efficacy of the international markets for Russia. And recently, European countries like the UK and France have approved the use of long-range cruise missiles like Storm Shadow for hitting targets in Russia proper. The United States remains on the sidelines here. There were some flirtatious indications that the Trump administration might sell Tomahawk cruise missiles to European partners who could then transfer them to Ukraine, but that was kiboshed by Donald Trump a week or two ago. Although they have initiated limited sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies, which may hurt their international sales to a degree. The Trump administration remains opposed to doing much, if anything, that would antagonize Russia. That's where we stand with things. If you have any perspective to share, please do so in the comments. That way we can all learn together. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thanks. Bye.